Welcome along to another edition of The Final Word. We are, of course, here every Monday when there has been a Premier League match to dissect all of the Premier League weekend. Michael Owen has decided that it's good time for a winter break, so it is Owen Hargreaves with his finger at the pulse, and we're delighted to welcome our special guest tonight, Jermaine Defoe, and much more from his career to come later in the show. Also, all the reaction from the Monday Night Football that was West Ham's win against Bournemouth at the London Stadium. But let's remind you what has happened on this Premier League weekend. Another 30 goals, storylines galore. It all began with Liverpool's defeat to Nottingham Forest, wins for Everton and City, all square at Stamford Bridge late on, of course. Villa 4 goals, Leicester 4 goals as well. Another defeat for Leeds, who've taken 2 points from the last 24. Just for the second time this season, the leaders Arsenal dropping points this season with a 1-1 draw at Southampton. Newcastle winning again, 2-1 at Spurs. And as I say, West Ham have beaten Bournemouth in the Monday Night Football by 2-0. So, Arsenal still top of the table, 11 games in, 2 clear of the champions Manchester City, then a 3-point gap to Spurs, and Newcastle United are in the Champions League places at this stage of a Premier League season for the first time since 2011, when Alan Pardew's side finished in the top 5. They are above Chelsea on goal difference. West Ham into the top 10 for the first time this season. Despite beating Liverpool, Nottingham Forest end the weekend bottom of the table, but locked on 9 points with Wolves and indeed with Leeds, who've dropped into the relegation zone. Leicester City's first away points of the season get them out of the bottom 3. And in 15th after that win, Aston Villa, they have 12 points on the board from 12 games now. And despite that, under Aaron Danks, their caretaker manager, they have announced today that they have appointed a permanent successor to Steven Gerrard, and that is the former Arsenal manager Unai Emery. And this is what the club have had to say. He joins from Villarreal, whom he led into Europa League success by beating Manchester United in the final in 2021, as well as the semi-finals of the Champions League last season. Unai has previously managed in the Premier League during a spell with Arsenal, leading the Gunners to a Europa League final. Unai will take over on November the 1st after his work permit formalities are completed. So he won't be there for Aston Villa's next game, which is away at Newcastle United. His first 2 games in charge will actually be against Manchester United in the Premier League at home and in the League Cup away from home. Then it's a trip to Brighton, and then he has Liverpool and Spurs to play in his first 6 Premier League games. So certainly a baptism of fire for Unai Emery. That's the big managerial news of the weekend. What do we make of that for Aston Villa fans, Jermaine?
Well, obviously, you know, Steven's lost his job, unfortunately. They got a reaction, and you see that a lot with teams. You know, when managers lose their job, you always get a reaction from the players for whatever reason. You know, they could have scored 4 goals against Fulham, but just, you know, that's just how Fulham football goes. But yeah, like I said before, you know, I'm sure there'll be a lot of Aston Villa fans that'll be delighted with this. You know, Emery's CV speaks for itself. You know, especially in Europe. You know, he's done so well. And I think that he would have something to. He would probably feel like he has something to prove over here. Obviously, his time at Arsenal didn't go as well as he would like. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Surprise for you in any way?
No, I mean, obviously, I think the only blotch on his CV is the Arsenal one. His CV is amazing, Steve. Valencia, Sevilla, Villarreal, PSG, he's had huge success pretty much everywhere. The only place he hasn't really worked out from is at Arsenal.
Where, remember, he was a point away from a top 4 finish.
Naturally, got to Europa League final as well. But I think also to be able to do what he's done, when he's able to speak his language, he's won 4 Europa Leagues. You know, he's almost unmatched at that level. So coming over here when English is second language, I think it's a lot harder, maybe sometimes communication-wise. But I think his CV itself is amazing, and I think Villa are getting a proven manager at this level. If they want to get into Europe and be successful, he's proven that he's the perfect manager for that. And maybe that's why, after what happened with Steven Gerrard, a relatively young manager, relatively inexperienced at that level, even though we all hoped it would work out for Stevie, they've almost feel like they've gone the other way with Unai Emery, somebody very experienced at this
level. And from where Villa are now, Jermaine, what would be a success, do you feel, with that squad, with this manager, and presumably some funds in January at the end of the season?
I think if you look at their squad, they've got top players. I thought you know, they've spent money, and it's proved over the weekend. You know, scoring 4 goals, great firepower. But yeah, if they do strengthen in January, of course, I mean, they're a massive football club. You know, they're a massive football club. You know, unbelievable fans, and there's an expectation and a demand there. You know, that you have to win games. But I feel like at this sort of stage, I think it's important that they look to. Obviously, they've appointed this new manager, but just focus on the next game, you know, and just, you know, continue winning games and then see where it takes you. But, you know, Aston Villa is a massive football club. Should be of course, in the top half of the table.
You think about it, if you think about Unai Emery, often he plays 4-4-2. You know, did that at Villarreal. And you think about some of the best players at Villa. You know, Danny Ings came in the weekend and scored a couple of goals. He's got Ollie Watkins as well. So you can imagine him working around those two who could probably play in a 4-4-2. Problem is, he's got a lot of other flair players, you know, Coutinho and Leon Bailey, who's come in and played really well. He's got to find a way to work all those guys into the side. But I'm with Jermaine. I think he's got some fantastic offensive players in there. I'm sure he's going to get a tune out of them.
And do you think his experience of the Premier League, 51 games with Arsenal, will stand him in good stead? Well,
I think he'll be better for it this time around. I definitely do. I think at times, we were very critical of him in the way his team played. I don't think we'll do that anymore, because I think the CV that he's had, he did a fantastic job at Villarreal. Look, you know, 4 Europa Leagues is an amazing achievement. If that was an English manager, we'd be raving.
Well, talking of the Europa League, West Ham got to the last 4, of course, last season. Now, reaction to the Monday Night Football, which was West Ham's 2-0 win at home against Bournemouth. 5 consecutive home wins in all competitions. And now delighted to talk to the West Ham Man United manager live now, David Moyes. David, great to see you. Well done tonight. How much did you need that?
Oh, we really needed it, because the questions might be quite different tonight if we hadn't got 3 points, because we've been sitting near the bottom of the league. But thankfully we got the win. It wasn't as nice as I'd like, but I thought we played quite well, but we just didn't really have the final ball and the final third or the finishing. But overall, 3 points in the Premier League at the moment is really important.
Big talking point just before half-time when you took the lead. We know Bournemouth aren't happy with the awarding of the goal. Have you any issue with that? I think it was Thomas Kehrer that they felt handled the ball deliberately.
Well, I'm nearly going to ask you the question, or the boys in the studio. You know, I've not seen it yet, and I generally haven't. I've said that in the other medias. I've not seen it yet, but maybe you can tell me what you thought.
Well, I think we had a bit of disagreement, actually. Owen, take it away, because you felt the goal should have stood.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know West Ham, they're brilliant on set pieces. First of all, delivery in there is brilliant. Kehrer, obviously, you know, I think he does really well to keep his arm by his side. So, it obviously hits his hand and comes back into an area where they're able to score, West Ham. But I think he's clever in the fact that he keeps his arm by his side, so it doesn't look as obvious once it hits his arm. I think Jermaine obviously thought maybe it was more of a handball.
When I first saw it, I thought it was handball and that, and obviously from then, obviously there's still a lot to do in that. But like, I mean, obviously congratulations with the result. We were speaking before about obviously the last 2 years have been fantastic. Yeah. I've been raving about obviously the team and yourself, and yeah, so you must be delighted with not only the result but the performance as well.
Yeah. I thought the performance at time was really good. I thought we were better with the ball. It was when we get into the final third, Jermaine, where we felt that we couldn't actually craft out a clear opening, really, or a better cross, or a final finish. So for me, I actually thought there was an awful lot of good stuff. And then, probably 15-20 minutes to go, we nearly get fed up with doing the right things and gave them the ball back. And I actually thought Kiefer Moore coming on and them going a little bit more direct at that period put us under a bit of pressure.
David, obviously set pieces were an amazing part of your guys' success last season. I think you were third best in the Premier League last season. Do you think that would be a big turning point, because the delivery was looked perfect there?
Yeah. Oh, and to be fair, we've done really well over the last couple of years. Paul Nevin, Kevin Nolan, you know, they've worked hard at trying to be productive with it. But you'll know better than anybody else, if you've got good delivery and you've got people who want to attack the ball, then it gives you a chance of scoring a goal from set piece. But we've actually found it pretty difficult this year, where delivery's not been quite as good. And you were right in what you said. I think Jared put in probably one of his best deliveries so far this season. So we rely on good delivery. We've got decent stature. We miss Craig Dawson at set pieces, who's really important to us. Thomas Souček's really important. But thank goodness we got one tonight, because it looked like the only way we were maybe going to get one. And I actually thought our performance merited scoring maybe a more stylish goal than the one we did.
And just finally, David, I know you're going to say points are welcome wherever, home or away, but I mentioned 5 home wins in a row in all competitions. Do you feel you're making that stadium a really hard place to play football now? I do, and I've got to say the crowd have played a great part. I mean, last year some of the nights we had in Europe and some of the games we had here were unbelievable. They really were, and it's actually a really good stadium, and we've got so many young supporters coming here. And even tonight, probably because of the school holidays, there was thousands of kids here tonight, and it was fabulous to see, because obviously, you know, I want to build a new West Ham. I want us to get a team which moving forward can be in Europe and can be competitive in the league as well. And I think as well the young supporters here have got
got real stars to follow, whether it be Declan Rice and Jared Bowen or Thomas Souček and Gianluca Scamacca now. I think they've all got names that they can put in the back of their jerseys with pride.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done tonight. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Good to see you, lads. Cheers.
Well done.
Cheers, boss. David Moyes live for you from the London Stadium after their 2-0 win over Bournemouth, and that is where we begin our review of the Premier League weekend. And what a big point that was for Manchester United, and a big header from Casemiro. Not necessarily bought for goals, but he's got in the team and he's had some effect. So let's take a closer look at exactly how he's done it with Jermaine Ano. And just some numbers for you, first of all. In terms of individual duels, since he got in the team over 90 minutes in the Premier League, he has the highest rate. You can see the 4 names on that particular list. In terms of the big 6, since he got in the team as well, in terms of possession, Manchester United are only second just to Chelsea. They've had more possession than City and Liverpool and Spurs and Arsenal. And in terms of possession won in the final third, that we're going to take a closer look at in a moment, since Casemiro got in the Manchester United team, they've had the most of it out of the top 6. Now, this is a position you, of course, know very well, Mr. Hargreaves. What exactly has he brought to the party when we see numbers like that?
He's brought everything, really. I mean, you see the numbers there and you think all those defensive ones, but he's brought leadership. This man's won 5 Champions League, Steve. He's a special player. I think he's good under pressure. He helps them be better on the ball. We think about United when they were getting results under Ole and even under Ten Hag at the start of the season against Arsenal, Liverpool. They played on the counter. Now with Casemiro in there, you can play into him at all times. He's brilliant defensively. But I think what we're going to show is here, he's really good on the ball as well. Obviously, the header against Chelsea, that's the icing on the cake. But some of these clips here that we're going to get into just show that this man has so many attributes that I think have gone a little bit unnoticed. And
well, let's first of all remind everyone what the issue was in that area of the pitch before Casemiro got into the team.
Well, a lot of the United fans were very critical of the fact that every manager seemed to play Fred and McTominay. In the end, they always played because I think they always thought they were doing a job for the side. Look, I'm just going to highlight Fred there. When you play in this position in midfield, your job, he's a defensive midfield player, yeah? So basically, you need to be there when there's a turnover of possession. For whatever reason, Fred, I'm going to run this really slowly, decides to gamble from the flick on Ronaldo. He thinks he's going to get it and receive it there. But he doesn't account for the fact they don't have the ball comfortably, Steve. It's a turnover of possession. Look at the position of Fred now. You would never see Casemiro in that position.
Is that ill discipline?
It's just a poor decision in a moment when you can't really be there. And if you just look at the space that he leaves, look at that space, Steve. It's a turnover of possession in your own half. You don't have the ball. Jermaine, as a centre forward, you'd be dreaming that space opens up there, and watch what happens. Watch where the ball goes. Watch where the ball goes, and basically in his position where he was. If he's there, none of this would have ever happened. Look, David De Gea makes a terrible mistake and the ball goes in. But if Fred is there in that position in that moment, then that probably could have been avoided. We've got another one here. This is obviously against Manchester City. And again, something very similar. Look, keep an eye on Gundogan there. All these boys know they're basically setting up this attack. And look at Bernardo Silva, runs out onto the wide area of the pitch. He's making this pitch really wide. And that's Scott McTominay in that position there.
What's he doing there?
He's too far wide. I was taught as a central midfield player, basically, I don't want to be outside these areas. Yeah, that's not my job. I got to be in here. Look at Eriksen. He's not a defensive midfield player. He's a number 10. We're going to run this on real slowly so you can just see. Man City make this pitch this big because basically all they want to do is get this ball around the corner from Gundogan into Grealish there. Grealish is there. And watch what happens. This space here that United have to deal with. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, no. Eriksen's on his own in there. Casemiro would be in there, Jermaine, wouldn't he?
Is that a lack of discipline, especially in that sort of position?
Did you know what? Scott is a young guy. I was like the same. I was athletic and I was aggressive. I want to go press the ball. If you watch Casemiro, sometimes he just stands still. And we're just going to run this on a little bit more. Just going to run this a little bit back. Look at Erling Haaland. They're building this attack because they know exactly what's going to come. They're all prepared for this. Eriksen's not sure. Do I go with De Bruyne? Do I go with Jack Grealish? And obviously, Scott is just in the wrong position. But when they get here, Jermaine, you obviously like the fact that Haaland, he's getting into the box
Yeah, this is brilliant. And actually, when you watch it play from before, and he's actually saying to Jack Grealish, actually come, stay on the ball, bring it, because all he's thinking about is seeing the defender's number and not coming to link play, but where can I be when we're going to score goals? I need to get in there. Where am I? He's not thinking about come to link play. There's an overload here, 2v1. All he's thinking about is where can I be to get into these areas, I like to call it the red zone, to score goals. And you watch it play in here now.
And that's the thing. I think in this situation, Casemiro would be there to break up that. Obviously, this is what we saw against Leicester. The fact, okay, you can win it there, but this is the thing I love. You know, we're just going to run it on real slow. Look at there. You know, he's got his head up. He's looking. He basically, and the thing that's really impressed me, Jermaine, is the fact, you know, he's able to hit these passes and get Marcus Rashford, get Bruno Fernandes into these areas. That's the thing that surprised me, is his passing.
His range of passing
has been really exceptional. We know defensively he's really good. I mean, Jermaine, this ball.
I love this clip.
And this,
I love this.
is not necessarily what he's been associated with, rightly or wrongly, is it?
No, this is special. Cause for a centre forward, speaking about Rashford here, again, these areas here. That's where you want to be as a centre forward. Just these small areas, just vacate these small areas, give yourself a chance to score. You talk about the great forwards over the years, Ruben Nistelrooy's. But the ball's been set back here.
But Steve, I mean, if you look at all the bodies that they've got back in here, you know, there's not much space for Casemiro to really hit. I'm going to run this real slow. He hits this with the outside of his right foot. I mean, that is picture perfect. And Marcus is going to score, hasn't he, Jermaine?
Yeah, because it's in between the two centre halves. It's one of the best balls you'll see all weekend and that. And obviously Rashford, from his reaction, you know he has to score because he's been put on a plate for him. But what a cross.
This is one of my favourite clips, actually. We're just going to run this on real slow. Look, Casemiro's just setting this up initially, yeah? And we're going to run this on real slow because basically, Jermaine, everybody, pretty much 95% of players in the Premier League, are going to pass that back to the keeper or pass that to Lindelof.
Which are good options, by the way.
Which are really good options.
Yeah.
But obviously, if we're going to run this on real slow, look at Casemiro. Vision, he knows exactly where this ball's going to go. And bang, and they're out. And that's the beautiful thing. Casemiro plays the ball forward. Fred and McTominay were good players, but they didn't play forward in some of these crucial moments. This is against Everton. This is class. I love this. And Jermaine, the thing you liked about this was the weight of the pass for Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, because you see here, where you want the ball is in here.
Yeah.
You don't want to break your stride because it gives the defender a chance to get back. And you see here, the weight of the pass is just perfect for Ronaldo to go on and do what he does best.
Why is the weight so important?
Because if you break your stride, then I feel like Ronaldo then it would be one-on-one. But at the minute here, it's like a race. So you want it in front of you so you can run onto it, get a touch, and drive into the box and get a finish.
See, this one is just Steve, it's just a real little, it's just a small little subtle one. But the fact that Casemiro always wants the ball. And because he wants the ball, he's able to come and just set this out here. And watch how quickly United can get up the pitch. One little ball out into Varane there. Great ball into midfield, a little dummy, and you're out. And the goal of football is to score. Get the ball to your attacking players that can make the difference. And I think Casemiro allows you to do that. This is what we've seen so far this season. Look, he's brilliant in here, turnover of possession, and bang, get it to your attacking players. Look how quickly, when he gets a turnover of possession, it almost leads to a goal. And obviously, I mean, this has probably been his standout moment, such an important moment. You know, he just gets on the end of a fabulous ball from Luke Shaw, and he's very, very good in the air. So I think in terms of impact, the team's unbeaten since he's come into the side. He's had an assist against Everton, he's had a huge goal against Chelsea, but he's been what we anticipated in terms of defensively, winning the ball, one of the best defensive midfield players in the Premier League, and he's won 5 Champions League. There's a reason for that, because this guy is so reliable.
They're really individual qualities that, as I say, a lot of people didn't expect in certain areas of the pitch. But in terms of the team frame and setup and the way Erik ten Hag wants to play, how's he helped that in recent weeks?
Well, look, I think there's a lot of things that go into that. I think, look, if you think about United and the way they're setting up, I think this is basically how it's going to be. Obviously, you got at times, you got 2 centre-backs there, and Casemiro, because he's so good at playing this position, they trust him to be in there, and, you know, if they turn over the ball. If you look at United, attacking-wise, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
So he allows them to go and press like that.
He's the trust, basically, in this. Whereas before, I don't think they trusted it as much. Because he's at the base there, they're allowed to go play a little bit more and attack. And obviously, it leads to the fact that you can get all these bodies in attacking. You know, 6 bodies, Jermaine. You know, that's a significant number.
It obviously gives you more chances of scoring goals when you can have more bodies up the pitch and knowing that you've got someone behind you that can that's got that awareness behind, that's good behind the ball.
I mean, this clip, when I think of Ten Hag and the way he plays football, I think this is his blueprint. This is how he sets up. So for me, he's thinking, right, I got my back 4 in. That's my back 4. And this is the guy, Casemiro, at the base of the midfield. But you look, the reason Ronaldo's not playing maybe is because of the fact, maybe the press. Yeah. But if you look at this clip, everybody's locked on. Everybody's quite high and they're pressing. And it's just because of the fact, with Casemiro on the side, you know, you see him just shifting over. They're looking to squeeze the ball and press. And basically, wherever there's an opportunity where they can go and win it, look, everybody's in the half of Tottenham. And they're trying to get after them. Everybody's trying to look into squeezing. Look, Casemiro, he's always shifting. He's always trying to find that moment, where can I win the ball?
Is that instinctive when you're playing there, Owen?
Yeah, some guys just have a feel for it, you know, and I think he does. And again, you know, this is pretty much almost the exact same clip. You know, Casemiro is at the heart. Again, we got that back 4 in there. Everybody's locked on, basically, because Jermaine, they want to get after people and they want to press because they know with him, he's a security blanket. And
do you think playing this way, pressing higher, you create more chances? Because what happens is you end up winning the ball higher and then you create more chances and then you get sustained attacks. So when you've got someone like that in, you can afford to press higher. And then that's why I think Man United now, they can play with that sort of intensity and they'll create a lot more chances.
The thing is as well, the goal is to get these guys the ball. These guys that decide the games. Casemiro does that. So he gets the ball, see there, you know, he gets it into Bruno Fernandes, into Eriksen, into Rashford, into Martial. These guys that can help go and decide the game, because basically you need the ball to get into the guys that decide the games, the Jermaine Defoes and all these attacking players. And I think now, with Casemiro at the base of that midfield, it's not a coincidence that United are unbeaten in the Premier League, and I think they've got a blueprint going forward to success with him.
Absolutely fascinating, and the numbers certainly back that up as well, because the 4 Premier League games that he started, United have conceded just 2 goals. Fascinating. When we come back, we'll continue our review of the Premier League weekend, focus at the other end of the pitch and Manchester City and the Premier League's new main man. Premier League champions back to winning ways and in the headlines, and have a guess, so too is Erling Haaland. Just the 22 goals in all competitions, and already incredibly in terms of the league, he's only 6 off last season's entire total for the Golden Boot Award. In fact, he's now got 17 league goals after 11 Premier League games, and nobody's done that before at this stage of a Premier League season, not just by 1 or 2, but by 4. And even the great Alan Shearer only had 12. That was his best ever at this stage of a season. We're going to analyse him in a moment to another length, Jermaine, but just on numbers alone, as a fellow goal scorer in the 100 club, what have you made of him and what have you made of those numbers?
Unbelievable numbers. Even when you look at the list, we speak about Alan Shearer, 12 goals.
What were you happy with at this stage of the season, just out of interest?
I always thought if you can score 10 goals from the start of the season to Christmas, I always thought it was a good return, because even if you, I don't know, if you picked up injuries or suspensions or you out of form in the second part of the season, you score 5 goals, let's say, and you get 15 league goals, I still feel like you'll still be in and around that list of the top goal scorers in the Premier League. But
not with this fella.
Not with him. He's taking it to a different level. He's probably thinking, I need 20 goals from the start of the season to Christmas. But scored 17 goals already at this stage. It's just amazing numbers.
Even at this early stage, we've seen just about everything from Erling Haaland. But against Brighton, did we see something different again, Owen?
Well, why would we doubt one of the greatest goal scorers in the world, in Erling Haaland, coming to almost the perfect team, the best team in the Premier League? And Pep, one of the greatest tacticians, if not the greatest tactician ever. And this is just a little clip against Brighton. And look, credit Brighton, you know, they were really positive, they were really aggressive, they really frustrated Manchester City, and they just locked on. You know, everybody was locking on, everybody was trying to press. And you know what? And it was really nice to see actually be brave and be ambitious. But the thing is, with that, we're just going to run this on real slow, because Pep knows De Zerbi as a manager. He knows how he plays. And we're just going to keep an eye on... Pep's at the bottom of your screen here. And you see Pep there. He's he's telling Haaland, just wait. But the problem is, Erling Haaland is getting into that. Erling Haaland's at the top of the pitch here, and I think he thinks he's too high. You know, he's in that space too quickly. And we're just going to run this on really slowly. I mean, look at Edison there. Edison basically is playing as a sweeper. He's the extra man because everybody's locked on. And it's really interesting the fact that they're trying to find the moment. And watch Pep. I'm going to show you Pep in just 1 second. Haaland gets into that space a little bit too early. Look at Pep.
He's not happy.
Look at Pep. He's thinking, what are you doing getting into that space? I told you before the game, this is what I wanted. Then we're going to run this on a little bit more. Nothing really comes of it because basically they're all locked on. So Edison, in the end, basically Edison's trying to dictate, but he just switches the play over to this side. And Pep, again, Pep is not happy. You know, Pep's not happy with the fact that, you know, it's not really materialised. And obviously, he calls over Erling Haaland. He said, come over here, come over here.
This is fascinating.
You know, let's have a little chat. Yeah. He said, basically, he's telling them, this is where the spaces are. Everybody's locked on. Wait for Edison. There's going to be a moment. He's the best passer of the ball, you know, as a goalkeeper, probably, Jermaine, that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And this, I love this, Jermaine.
This is brilliant.
That's Erling Haaland there.
Clever.
We saw him before there, Steve, you know. He was basically there, wasn't he? So basically, he's just trying to draw in. He's just trying to draw in the defender there. Why, Jermaine? Because they're trying to work the space, aren't they? Because they know that ball over the top, it's on.
Yeah, of course, because obviously, the way they've set up here, they've worked on this City, by the way. Mara stay wide, Grealish stay wide. Haaland drop down, try and vacate this space in behind. As soon as you get eye contact and he turns and spins, there's no one in the world that's going to stop him, and that's exactly what he does. And this is a thing of beauty. We'll just run it at full speed because you get to see the athleticism of Haaland. And the thing is, once he gets here, and physically they're running behind, then he's bullying defenders, whether it's Dunker or Webster. It's something I don't think, Steve, that we've seen before. We're going to show some other goals that we've seen, some great finishes. But that, with one of the greatest centre-forwards, with one of the greatest coaches, these guys are just a match made in heaven.
Let's look at his all-round game then. Can you try and pick any areas where he can get even better?
I don't know. You look at areas and you like to think, 22-year-old players, you like to think there's some weaknesses or areas where you can improve. You know, you head it, but it just seems like the complete player. I mean, he scores all sorts of goals. He's intelligent in terms of movement, where to be in the box. A lot of one-touch finishes. So if he scores a lot of one-touch finishes, that tells me that his movement's spot on. Every time he gets in the box and he gets there and he finishes, always makes good contact, always hits the target, and he's just got that hunger to score goals.
Jermaine, are you surprised how patient he is for such a young man?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this clip here, it's like he has a feel for what is going to happen. He knows where the ball's going to be. This is where, you know, he's actually thinking, I might come over here, you know, I might link this side of the pitch, but if we just run this on real slow, keep an eye on, once Kevin De Bruyne turns, Jermaine, if you can just highlight that space with Kevin De Bruyne there, he's going to run into that channel.
This is like a half-space run. You see City do that. They do that well.
And watch and keep an eye on Erling Haaland. Initially, you think he's going to come over here. No. In the end, he peels off over there because he knows what's going to happen with Kevin De Bruyne. And Jermaine, that's the beautiful thing. For such a young man, he's so patient, the fact that he knows these moments are going to come. Watch him turn there. I know Kevin's going in there, so I'm going to get to the back post. I mean, look, Jermaine, the ball's unbelievable.
Yeah, of course, but just the fact that he's there again at the back post, one-touch finish, just getting into the right areas where he's going to score goals. But his movement and his timing, more than anything, is just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we love, Jermaine, we love this one because of the fact that just the way that Man City, everybody, I mean, you look at Jack Grealish there. And he's telling everybody, slow it down. They know what's coming. Gundogan, he's doing the exact same thing. You look at Bernardo Silva, he's running out to that space to make the pitch wide, to make the pitch big. And all they're doing is just trying to wait for a little moment to work the ball into an area. Gundogan knows he's going to work into this space. Jack pops into that little pocket there. And once this ball gets around this corner, this space opens up. There's so much space for them to be able to work into, and it's just a thing of beauty. And I just love it, the fact that once Jack gets turned,
yeah, it's like they set traps.
They're doing it, and you look at Christian, actually he's got his arms. I think, what guys, what's going on in here? You know, I'm in here on my own with, you know, you think about some of the players that he's, you know, it's Kevin De Bruyne, it's, you know, it's Jack Grealish. But the thing I love about it is, Steve, look at Erling Haaland. He said, I know what's coming. Wait, guys.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing of beauty to watch these guys because they all know what's going to come, Jermaine. And we've been speaking about this with, if you look at
his movement.
If you look at Erling Haaland there, he almost seems to work off an angle. If De Bruyne is here, he's almost on the other side, isn't he? Why is that?
He will never run in a straight line or be on the same line as the ball. He always makes opposite movements, which you see top centre forwards do. He always wants to get in between the two centre halves or see the centre half's number. And you see there, this is the first movement that
Jermaine, we'll run this on so you can actually see it. Watch Haaland adjust his position. He thinks, I'll get it there on the opposite side. Watch. As soon as he knows it's coming to Kevin, look, he gets on the opposite side. And again, that's exactly what... And Jermaine makes a great point. You watch Haaland there when you see it next weekend. He's always behind the second centre-back. Because basically, Jermaine, why is that? He's thinking... I can cut across there. I can go in the back post. I mean, you want to highlight that back space, don't you, Jermaine?
But even there, a lot of centre forwards may come to feet there.
Good point.
Which is okay. A lot of midfielders may go, okay, there's a two against one here. Let's get an overload. But he knows exactly what he wants to do. You know, he wants to be. I mentioned before here because that's where I'm going to score.
And he knows with Kevin De Bruyne, this ball's going to be perfect. He can attack it, and that's why City are different now. They can play that long one. They can get crosses. They can head it. I mean, there's so many strings to the bow.
And that's a difficult finish, by the way. But it makes it look so easy. Just the fact that, you know, he's stretching, but just amazing contact.
Right. We're going to talk about one striker to another now because Newcastle United have got into the top four. I mentioned earlier, first time in this season, at stage of the season for 11 years. Many reasons, but at the top of the field, as Jermaine was in, Callum Wilson, player that you played with and trained with every day at Bournemouth. Since he signed for Newcastle, we know he's had his injuries. 52 appearances in the Premier League, 47 of them from the start, 24 goals, 172 minutes per every goal. And we should point out as well, in a Newcastle team that's been at the bottom under Steve Bruce, with the greatest respect, that didn't create many chances. How important has he been to what Newcastle have done this season now, and what's he like to play with?
He's the main man. He's a goal scorer. You know, he's a focal point. You know, he's someone that I like to say like an old number 9. You know, he's someone that, you know, the ball comes up to him, it sticks. You know, he brings people into play. He's willing to run in behind relentlessly throughout the game. When he gets chances, he's cool in front of goal, and he has that belief that it doesn't matter who he plays against. He always believes that he could score. And you know, when you've got a centre forward that has that sort of belief, you know, it's brilliant. And you see some of the finishes here, some of the calculated finishes and his movements.
Talk us through some of these from a striker's point of view.
He's underrated, Jermaine, isn't he?
100%. 100%. Someone that he really impressed me. When I went to Bournemouth and I saw Callum, even in training, I thought, you know, he's a top centre forward. Even his movement there, we spoke before about opposite movement, where he takes the defender away to vacate the space at the near post, and then the ball comes, and this is not an easy finish. You have to improvise, and the fact that he could sort of like flick it with the outside of his foot and get it over the goalkeeper, that's a top goal.
That's a world class finish.
That's a top goal. I remember seeing Robbie Keane score a goal like this years ago, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think just the quality of that finish, and I think that surprised me. Steve, he looks a more technical player than the one we saw at Bournemouth. I mean, some of the goals, Jermaine, that he scored have been breathtaking, really.
Yeah, this is a good goal as well, because the way he takes the ball off the line, that first touch makes the goal, and to flick it with the outside of his foot, all in one movement. You know, and the way he changed the line of the ball, and then to flick it with the outside of your foot again. To finish it was fantastic.
I mean, that's probably one of his greatest attributes, isn't it? It's the fact that he can run in behind. That he's a good athlete. He's physically strong. But that finish against Tottenham was spectacular.
Yeah, I think just to have that sort of composure. You know, when you're weaker side, to sort of like get it up and over the goalkeeper there. But Callum's it doesn't surprise me, because, you know, he's someone that works really hard. He had 2 really bad injuries, and he works really hard to get back. And you know, when you work that hard, like I saw, you know, I'm just delighted to see him do well. And I believe that, you know, if he's fit, he should go to the World Cup for sure.
I was going to ask you about that. We're only 30 days away. It's a different story this year, being mid-season, with players in form who are fit and firing. Is he as in form as anyone of the English strikers?
Yeah, and of course, there's no better time to be in form, you know, especially when you get this sort of, when you get to this stage of the season where the World Cup's around the corner. But like I said, I believe that when he's fit and he's really on it, he's up to speed. You know, you talk about World Cups and championships where, you know, it's not just about the team, it's about the squad. You know, I don't know, for instance, you know, when we played against Italy and we got pinned back, I think he's someone that can come on and you know, get us up the pitch, even if it means running behind or, you know, bringing people into play. But I think he's got that sort of quality, and most importantly, you know, when he gets the chances, he's calling in front of goal.
4 caps under Gareth Southgate. He got a goal as well against the United States.